Hi everyone, Soft Sound Whispers here, and today is going to be a softly spoken video because it's more about topic, I suppose. Tonight I want to talk to you about lucid dreaming. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the term. I think that a lot of people in our community are very much into their relaxation and sleeping and sleep techniques and dreaming and things like that. So I had this project planned last year and I actually started it and made a couple of videos. Basically an introduction, not like a guide through lucid dreaming because I'm not an expert or even close. I'm very much a beginner. But more of my journey through, and because quite a lot of my viewers sort of say they'd happily listen to me talking about anything, I thought that this would be quite a nice little thing to do, so we could do different videos with me sort of going through dreams that I've had and things like that, just so I have something to ramble about, I suppose, because rambling's not my strong point. I'd rather have a topic. So when did I come across lucid dreaming? I'm not entirely sure where I've heard about it in like recent years. When I was a child, I would realise that I was dreaming and I would be able to wake myself up. I had quite vivid dreams as a child, quite a few nightmares, and so I remember some in particular, which were quite horrendous, to be honest, especially for quite a young child. And I would realise that I was in a dream, and I'd be like, okay, this isn't good, and I would be able to sort of say, right, zombie, wake up. So that's like lucid dreaming on its lowest form, is actually realising that you are dreaming. The second is managing to stay in your dream, which I can't usually do. I wake up. And then another step is to actually be in, like, not just be awake, but be active and awake in your dream and be able to, sorry about that noise, control things in a sense. So anyway, like I said, as a child I could do this or wake myself up. I also had a few other strange things happen through dreams. I had a bit more than deja vu. Only twice in my life, but when I was a lot younger I actually saw things that happened not long after I dreamt them, which I'm sure some of you won't believe, and it doesn't matter if you don't believe me, but I've never done it since. I'd love to be able to sort of see a bit of the future, and I can't explain it. I have no way to explain that, and like I said, it's not happened since after I was 10 years old, so I don't know what that was, but I remember it that vividly, that it happened. So basically I had a lucid dream not that long ago, well, a year and a half ago, probably actually a year ago. It was just before I decided to do this project, and I was in a dream and I was in somewhere that I'd grown up, our local town, but it didn't look the same, as nothing ever really does, but you know it's that same place. And I was going through this dream and everything seemed normal, even though it wasn't. And I saw one of my friends who passed away. I would have been 19, so yeah, 8 years ago. His name was Simon. He unfortunately had a drug-related epileptic fit and passed away. And I saw him in my dream, and I was so excited to see him, and then I suddenly realised that it couldn't possibly be him, because he was dead. So that was something that triggered me realising, okay, this isn't normal. So I was conscious enough in my dream to realise it wasn't normal. I was then also conscious enough to think, right, I should go and talk to him, because maybe he's in my dream for a reason, whatever was going through my head at the time. But as I got so excited because I realised I was in the dream, when I went up to him, I'd pretty much woken myself up by that point, so the dream was over. So then I started thinking, I wonder if there's any like techniques that if that ever happened again, I'd be able to stay in the dream. Not that I know if I believe that he was in my dream, or whether it was just something locked deep behind that sort of had just opened up in one of my dreams. I don't know what I believe in, really, to be honest. Fairly agnostic. I believe in something, but I don't know what, and I can't explain half the things, so let's just sort of leave it at that. But yeah, so that sort of triggered my interest to then go and have a look deeper into the lucid dreaming world, and I came across quite a few people on YouTube, as obviously that's what we do, YouTubers, and I've stumbled across lots of different channels that have different ideas and also different techniques. There's this one guy, and I can't remember for the life of me what his name is now. He's amazing, and I'm going to link him below, because I think that if any of you are interested in lucid dreaming, you should definitely check out his videos. I actually watch them now just for relaxation purposes, because I just like the way he talks, and I find him very knowledgeable and very calming. My videos are going to be nothing like his. Mine are not going to be telling people techniques. Like I said, I don't really have much of a grounding on that, but what is interesting is that I started following his techniques and they actually really work. So I thought my new project, like I said, so that we have something to ramble about, or at least I do, something that you can listen to, is my journey through teaching myself or being taught how to lucid dream properly. So I'll start with my lucid dream. Well, basically what he'd sort of suggested to do was to, throughout the day, like, have a look at the clock, think, right, it's 6:01, and then you look away, and then you look back at the clock and see if it's the same time or a different time. Now often, like you said, it's a dream world, so it's not rational, so often it'll be something completely different. There might not even be a clock there, or the time will be different, or the hands will be moving, or things like that. So you start doing this in your everyday life, and other things like check your hands and have a look at your hand, and then look away, look back at your hand. You know, he'd usually say that his was a different size or a different colour. So like, if you don't go through life, like your day-to-day life, and do these different things, then eventually your mind will work while you're sleeping, and you'll do the same in your dream. I couldn't believe how quick that was to work. I think I'd only been practicing doing that for about a week and a half before it actually happened in my dreams. Thing is, I'd get so excited when I realised that there was something different. I'd be like, oh my god, I'm dreaming. And I would manage to wake up, because obviously my heart rate accelerated a bit when I was using the part of my brain which had been asleep. So then the trick is you've got to calm yourself down, but it takes a lot of practice. So I just generally carry on with the checking my hands and clocks and things like that. And this one time I was dreaming I was at some sort of really grand party. There weren't that many people there, and there was a band. I think it could have been the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or they were meant to be, but they were wearing yellow shirts. And they'd sort of finished and left all their kit, and I was really excited about what was going to happen next at the party, and I dropped something, and as I picked it up, I looked, and there was like a DVD player. I saw the time on it. I was like, ooh, check time. So I looked, and I really thought it was real. I looked at the time, I was like, alright, okay, check it again, and then it wasn't a DVD player. So I was like, oh, hang on a second, now I'm dreaming. And I was like, okay, right, calm. So I just thought, right, just breathe, and just look around you. And so then everyone had gone. There was now no longer one person in my dream when there had been quite a few people at the party. So I was in an empty house, and this is quite an advanced, I suppose I'd say layer of lucid dreaming that I'd gone into on this stage. Usually it would have taken a lot more practice, and I went out through French doors, and at this point I was completely awake. I couldn't control anything that was happening around me. I wouldn't have the foggiest how to do that. Even now I have no idea. I walked out into the garden, and there was a large, long, sloping grass garden. It kind of looks like my aunt's house in Surrey. And at the bottom of it was a fence, and I thought, I've got to find people to talk to. I was like, I can't just stand here and have a look at the scenery. I said, I've got to go find people. I was like, I'm going to go walk and find a town. So I hadn't quite realised that I was completely in a dream, because obviously you'd realise there probably isn't a town down the road. You know, there won't just magically be one there set up ready for you, but I did know I was dreaming. As I walked down the field, there were black, like, rabbits, but they looked fuzzy when, you know, you looked at them. And so I went up to them and I tried and scare them, and they wouldn't scare. And they're just really just doing nothing. They were just looked like props, but they were anyway. As I walked further down the field, I must have been slipping back into my dream, because this big black, like a horse-drawn carriage, and it was all kind of wispy as if it was on flames, but black, came like racing down like a road towards me, and I started freaking out a little bit, and I was like, oh my god, I probably shouldn't be here. I probably shouldn't be awake. And I think that's when I slipped back into the dream, and this demony sort of thing came out, but for some reason I was going to fall in love with it and try and marry it in my dream. So I slipped back into sleep, which is something that he can sort of train you or tell you how not to do. So that was a complete blabble, probably completely uninteresting to you. My thoughts are now, after having quite a long stint away from it, I had a lucid dream the other day, but again, woke up in my dream and got too excited, I woke myself back up. So what I'm going to do now is basically follow this guy's guidelines, check the little things all the time, and see if I can start doing this properly and see how far I can go with it. I mean, he can make himself fly, and he can control his surroundings and things like that, and I've only ever had 2 flying dreams in my life. Only ever 2, and I remember them being the most exhilarating, most amazing, incredible dreams that I'd ever had. Like horse riding too, it's the only thing that's only happened once. Like freely galloping. And I just think it would be so cool that if you can control that part of your mind while you're asleep, just the amount of fun you can have. And I know there are a lot of skeptics out there, but I completely believe in it, obviously, and I'm really interested to see where it's going to go. So, this is my first instalment of my lucid dreaming videos. I'm going to do a bit more research on it so I can actually tell you a few more technicalities to it in future videos. But yeah, so hopefully those of you that like my rambling videos